What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about Bitcoin today. It is the 8th day of July. Here we are at about $62.3 thousand with roughly 11 hours and 40 minutes left in the day. Hit that like button, subscribe if you'd like to see more content like this, and let's get into it. Okay, let's talk about the price action. We're doing some of the same stuff that we've been doing over the past 4 days, right? We've been rather volatile right here. We move down, then we move up. Here we move down, then we move up. Here, down and up. Same thing here. We're just down, but we're not moving up yet. We'll see. We'll look at the 1 hour time frame and the shorter time frames and see if we have reason to believe that we are going to move up, or should we suspect lower prices. It is completely possible, and it is all right to go down to this prior point of resistance and find support down here where you also found support before. That would take us like right around 60K. So I mean, we could go right there. And then again, we look at our liquidation map over the past 7 days. A lot of longs get cleared out between here and 60K. All of them get cleared out between here and 59K. So I mean, could we go a little bit lower than 60K? Sure, it's possible. I'm no longer in the camp. I'm no longer in the belief that we'd see a lower low, but that is also possible. It's still something that could happen. I mean, we could, we've got a lower high here. Could we see a lower low? Sure, it could happen. It really could happen. We're going to go over all that and kind of pick this apart time frame by time frame and see what the outcome is here. That's just my thoughts roughly. It's just my summary of an idea of what's going on. We look at this on the 1 hour time frame, and it does seem as though you are rounding off, right? This top is rounding off. Typically with this, whenever you do get a rounded top, you do see a sudden shift down. This is not a sudden shift down, right? This isn't even a sudden shift down. Let's see. Right, yeah, like something like that, or like that, right? Maybe even a little bit like this. Yeah, something like that, where you just literally drop through the floor. That's what I'm talking about. That's like a sudden shift down. Um, I mean, from here, you're already down a lot, so it might not be that extreme. But something around 60K, if not below 60K, could be coming our way. From a low to a high, you've hit the 382. You're right there, finding support. That's nice. Oftentimes enough, you go from the 382 to the 236, and then back down to the golden ratio. Something like that could happen. That would take you up to 63K. If we can get above 63K, if we can maintain prices above 63K, then likely what happens next is that we will not go down. If we can get above 63K, we will probably recover and move up. And sometimes that happens. Just because it's a rounded top doesn't mean you have to go down. Nothing in technical analysis is perfect. Nothing guarantees a result. But it's very common in this kind of environment to see that sudden shift to the downside. 1 hour time frame RSI taking on a bearish form. Again, yesterday, guys, when we were, where were we? Let's see, it's the 11th hour now. We were talking about it here. I was very indecisive with the price. I was giving you upward targets and downward targets and saying I really don't feel one way or another. And I said if I really had to choose, and it was like it was really hard to do, but I said if I really had to choose, we'd move down. But even if we move down, I'm not going to say I was right because I was so 50-50. If we're moving up, I'm not going to say I was wrong, right? Same thing here. We're moving down. It happened to go the way that I was leaning to somewhat, but we're in this really indecisive zone. We still could move up from here. We really could move up. So I mean, the fact that we're down a little bit today doesn't necessarily condemn us. But again, this overall shape, I'm not a fan of. And from yesterday's indecisive behavior, neutral kind of look, we have shifted a little bit more bearish on the RSI. To be fair, so I'm feeling more confident today that we are going to move down. Now, if we move lower, I can brag and toot my own horn and say that I'm right, and I will do that. No, I don't. I don't ever do that really, unless I'm getting a ton of hate, man. If I'm getting a ton of hate, I do like to spice things up a little bit. But even then, I don't really rub it in people's faces, man. At least I try not to. I think it's lame when you do that. I don't know. To each their own. Some people get really excited. I don't know. To me, the people that get the most excited when they're right, they're the ones that they don't address when they're wrong. They don't actually admit that they're wrong. They never admit that they're wrong. It's just how it is. And I'm not talking about in life. I'm talking about in crypto specifically, but maybe it's like that in life too. I don't know. Like the people who are making a bold call and it ends up being right this one time, and then the next time they're wrong. they'll be super excited when they're right, and then whenever they're wrong, they'll be like, yeah, and it's probably gonna do this instead. We're flip flopping now. We're gonna switch sides. Like they don't admit that they're wrong. They don't say, yeah, I was wrong. They never say that. Anyways, I'm getting hung up on BS. Let's move on, man. Stochastics oversold, taking on a bearish shape as well. Market cap taking on a bearish shape as well. Sorry, MACD, not market cap. You're crossing below the zero. You were trying to find support at the zero. This put up a fight. It really did, a valiant effort, but you're starting to give way to the downside here. 4-hour time frame. This golden ratio is at 60.3 to 59.8K. I could really see us going like right in that zone, guys. 60.3 to 59.8K. It's calling us. The 4-hour RSI also taking on a bearish shape. This was also giving me a little bit of a bearish inclination yesterday as we start to break out of this upper low trend. We will probably continue to see some bearishness come our way. Stochastics look bearish. The MACD overall has a bullish shape, and again, this is not calling for anything dramatic to the lower low, but still with this rounded top, we could see a sudden shift. We could find support down here, right where we found support before, where we found resistance before. Support right there. This guy gets oversold. This guy gets oversold. This guy gets down to the zero. All reset, ready to go to the upside, bounce off the zero, and then we start to move up higher. I could see that happening. And then people are going to get really excited because we're going to break out of this lower high trend. And it would be funny because I bet as soon as we break above that lower high trend, we're also going to correct a little bit. We're going to see some correction. I still think that we work our way up to 70K or higher. I really do think it's going to happen either this month of July or sometime in August. At least that's my perspective for now. But that can shift. That can definitely shift. I would say that definitely changes if we see a lower low. If we get a lower low here, we're probably not going to go to 70K. I would at least think. But the 4-hour is taking on a bit more of a bearish structure, a little bit bearish, nothing too crazy, right? Daily time frame, higher lows or higher highs. Lower highs here. Seems as though we have hidden bearish divergence. Same thing on the stochastic, same thing on the MACD. Come down a little bit, bounce off that golden ratio, bounce off of prior resistance, bounce off of prior support, bounce off of prior support. Do the thing. Clear out a ton of the liquidity here between where we are now, 62.2K and $60,000, right? Clear out multiple billions of dollars worth of long positions and then move up. I want to look at the heat map too. Let's just do that real quick. Decline. I always decline cookies. And if they don't give you a decline button, it's always accept or preferences or accept or settings. I go to the settings, I select the least cookies, if not no cookies at all, and I never let them take my cookies. I never do. I know it's supposed to help you with whatever, but I don't know, whatever. Anyways, it's supposed to help them get to know you. There are a lot of longs that get cleared out here. 61.4K. What is this? Is this a 24-hour? Let's fix that. Look at all these shorts, man. They get cleared out at 64.6K. That's a hot zone up there. Let's go over the past week. For whatever reason, I feel like the heat map looks different than the liquidation map. I don't know why. I mean, obviously there's more longs than shorts. You can see that here over the past week. Yeah, a lot of these longs, guys, get cleared out right there. 60.6K. 60,000. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of heat in that area. As we clear that out, there will be some heat building up in this area, and then flip flop will start to pump. Why is it taking so long? There we go. Yeah, there's definitely some heat. Definitely some heat going up to 67K and beyond. But we're probably going to clear this out first. Clear out that little hot zone. Move on up. Move on up. It's funny, right? There once were shorts in this area. It was a really hot zone for shorts. Now it's a hot zone for longs. It's funny. Still a hot zone. Still a voluminous, liquidative area, but for the opposite effect. Anywho, daily time frame. Genuinely, it is taking on a bullish structure for all of these indicators. You're still somewhat bearish, and you have some bearish things going on right now, but I don't know if it calls for lower lows. I would think that we do continue to climb higher. Really what we're doing overall is, even if we see a lower low from here, even if we see a higher low and then a higher high, what we're doing overall is we are just consolidating. So we're just, we're just doing this kind of stuff. We're going to be consolidating until later this month. If not, at this point, I really do think it'll be August. And then we're looking to break out. Looking to break out. The end of the bear market, if I'm correct, should be in August or September. I'm thinking August. I've been thinking August. I think that it'll happen earlier than people expect. A lot of people are expecting it to happen in October or November. And that's exactly why I think if we can, consolidate a little bit here, get one last little push down, whether it's in the low 50s or the low 40s, somewhere in there, we get our little bear market finale finish. Because it's August or September, people will expect that we're going to see a lower price in October or November, and it just never comes. That would be my suspicion. So time will tell. We'll see how it goes. Hit that like button and subscribe. Thank you all for being here. Oh, there's one more thing on the weekly time frame that I think is really interesting, which could also be signaling that we're getting to the end of this bear market. Okay, first off, let's go back here. This is actually really interesting. I'm going to take away the RSI. Let me just see if I need the RSI. Oops. Nope, that's not what I meant to do. Come on. Okay. I like the bounce off the oversold zone, but nah, doesn't mean too much. No, I don't need the RSI. I don't need the stochastics. Stochastics actually look a little bit bearish. I need the MACD. Okay, we'll make it clean. So looking at this here, going back to the 2018 bear market, we're getting to the end of the bear market, right? We're flipping red, we're staying red, we flipped green, we flipped red for a little bit here, and we did get that sudden shift down. Flipped green, flipped red. It's not the same look that we're getting now, and that's okay, but I just wanted to look at it anyways. This bear market was our last bear market. Every time we flipped red here, it promoted a big drop that, lasted for months. Not the drop itself, but before we started to recover, it lasted for months. Here we flipped red, we dropped. Here we flipped red, we dropped, okay? And then here, we actually, even though we went lower, even though we did see a lower low, we maintained a green kind of posturing in the MACD. Here right now, even in the bull market, when we'd flip red, we wouldn't drop dramatically, but we did consolidate for months. Flipping red in the bull market, we didn't drop dramatically, but it's a drop for the bull market. We consolidated for months, and then we moved up. Here, now that we're in the bear market, we flip red, we start to get those drops, okay? Killing off that bearish momentum, we start to build some bearish momentum, and we drop. We flipped green, and then here, we dropped, but then we flipped red, and now we're actually starting to kill off that bearish momentum again. None of these past bear markets have this same result. I want to look at this. What I think is interesting is the fact that we have this kind of false cross here. It's not a false cross yet. It's not proven. But it is interesting because typically whenever we get these red crosses, it promotes a dump. And we saw the dump beforehand in this case, but we're also in a position where I think we could see some recovery. So just seeing stuff like this, where we're not doing bear market stuff, right, where you flip red, you're building bearish momentum, you start to drop. You're flipping red, you're building bearish momentum here, you're starting to drop. Here we flipped red, we didn't really drop. It's been a couple weeks now, guys. We haven't really dropped. I mean, 4 days left in this week. I don't want to count my chickens before they hatch, but if this week can close here or higher, if we can kill off this bearish momentum, instead of getting it darker red, if it can be a lighter red color by the end of this week, I think this is a signal that we are coming to the end of the bear market. It doesn't mean that the low is in. That's not by any means what I'm saying here. But it's a signal of bearish strength waning, right? Here, we're moving up. Here, we're moving up. We're moving up. We're moving up. Here, bullish strength is waning. We're getting higher highs, but it's waning, right? Here, we're moving down. We're moving down more vibrantly. Here, we're moving down, but we're getting a slightly lower low. Bearish strength is waning, guys. And it might wane some more. We might, just like this, kind of round off our bottom, like a rounded top, and then start to rally. I don't know. Just a thought. I like the weekly MACD the way that it is set up as far as the macro stuff goes. It does, to me, right now, show that we are very near the end of the bear market. But this video went on way too long. That last part took longer than I meant for it to. So hit that like button, subscribe. Thank you all. Take care. Bye.